There's like a feeling that you have, like when you know I shouldn't be here. I'm in imminent danger. There's 2 police officers up front, Kalashnikov in the middle. There's like evidence of drone strikes on both sides of the road. Took my phone off airplane mode, last known location, GPS. Don't tell my wife. Yeah. I'm actually getting kind of stressed out just thinking about it. You just have to roll with the punches in Iraq.
For most people, spring break is a time to hit the beach or binge watch Netflix. Not for this guy. He decided to go to Iraq. Yeah, Iraq. Like Highway of Death, Saddam's palace, checkpoints every 20 minutes, Iraq. Today's guest on the Trip Report is Cole Mitchell, a history teacher, a backpacker, and apparently allergic to relaxing vacations. This conversation really got me thinking about what travel actually is and what it can be. Not just a vacation, but a way to challenge yourself, connect with people, and see the world through a completely different lens. This episode is part travel story, part how am I not in jail right now, and 100% fascinating. Let's get into it. Cole, welcome to what I'm calling this is the Trip Report. You just got back from Iraq.
Yeah, a couple weeks ago.
Never would have guessed that you were going to go to Iraq. So can you tell me, like, why did you choose to go to Iraq?
I guess it's somewhere I've never been. I always like to go to new places. If I'm counting correctly, Iraq is like number 90.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, so it's like the 90th country I've been to. Love the Middle East. Love that Arab culture. It's very hospitable.
Yeah.
It's also like historically speaking, just there's few places that are more interesting. Mm-hmm. Right? It's got like ancient history. Some of the first like civilized people walking planet Earth. The world's like first set of laws, right? Like just really old, cool stuff. But then also like the modern history that's rocky and violent and like America has played a really big role in.
Yeah.
And so I'm a history teacher. I don't know if you knew that, but yeah, I mean, that's kind of like my thing. It's kind of tracking down like a lot of the places that have value, historical value. So yeah.
What was this like for spring break or?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, it was the second week in April.
So it was the second week in April. It was just 1 week in Iraq.
Yeah. So there's no direct flights. So I had to fly through Qatar.
Okay.
And then spent 1 day there, 2 days in Kuwait.
Wow. Okay. Then, so it's a journey just to get there.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, the fastest way to get there would probably be through Istanbul, mm-hmm. like one stop in Istanbul on Turkish, or maybe through Dubai, like Emirates. Mm. I took the long way though, because I'd never been to Qatar and I'd never been to Kuwait either. So I was like, let's make this a thing.
So how long did you get to explore Qatar and Kuwait?
Well, so thankfully they're tiny countries.
Yeah.
So I was able to see a lot of stuff. Mm-hmm. It was like 24 hours in Qatar, just the city of Doha.
Yeah.
And then it was like 48 hours, I think, in Kuwait City.
Got it.
But I actually like went overland to Iraq.
Okay.
Which, I mean, usually like you fly into a country, but I took a Careem taxi, which is like their version of Uber.
Okay.
Through pretty much the entire country of Kuwait, which only takes an hour and a half, crossing into Iraq overland. And yeah, that was kind of like mind twist in and of itself, because that was the reverse route that Saddam Hussein took when he invaded Kuwait. Like he came going southbound from Iraq into Kuwait, and I just went from Kuwait northbound into Iraq.
Oh wow, that's got to be kind of
dude. It was like
a weird experience.
Yeah, have you ever seen that movie Jarhead?
Yeah.
So it's like that. I mean,
Jake Gyllenhaal.
Yeah, dude. There's still like oil refineries on either side of the road, and like you're like, oh, I think that's like a bombed out crater from 1991. Like, oh wow. Yeah, there's still like a
Desert Storm 1, right?
Yeah. And the highway that you take is like, it's called the Highway of Death. A lot of like dark tourism.
Yeah.
I was like, this is interesting. My dad's a pilot.
Okay.
So he had friends that actually like dropped bombs on that exact same road that I took into Iraq. And like I grew up as a kid like hearing those stories and stuff.
Yeah.
So there was like a historical, personal kind of element to it.
What did your parents think of you going to Iraq?
Not huge fans of it.
Yeah.
Yeah, as you can imagine.
Yeah.
I mean, they're parents. They're worried about their kid.
Totally.
The first thing that comes up when you Google like travel Iraq is State Department. Do not travel for any reason. If you do travel, draft a will.
Oh, wow.
Which I was like,
Did you do that?
no, I didn't.
No. Okay. Poor Cassie.
Yeah, no. So that was like, I mean, it's not the first country I've been to where the State Department
Yeah.
was like, you should not go there.
Yeah.
I've been to Haiti. I felt like more scared in Haiti
Oh, really?
than Iraq. Yeah. Also, I mean, the State Department's like category system is
Yeah.
like
It's
very
1 through 4, right?
Yeah, it's very
Yeah.
elementary. Like,
Yeah.
not all level 4 countries should be even in the same discussion.
No.
Right? Like Yemen and Afghanistan and Syria are far more dangerous than Iraq, like tenfold.
Yeah.
Right? And even Haiti, like tenfold more dangerous.
So I definitely want to get into the danger part of
Yeah.
this because it in my mind, Iraq is, we had a war there for 15, 18 years or something like
Yeah.
that. And so between both the war, safety, and then like public perception of an American walking around, I'd love to hear more about that. But I want to go back to you driving on the road of death. Going on the road of death, was that the only way to get into Iraq?
No.
You can't fly in, or?
So most people do fly in.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, most people would fly into Baghdad.
Got it.
But you can take a land route, and
Yeah.
that's what I did. So
Okay, so it was more because of that like connection that you were really interested in taking this.
Yeah, I wanted to see Kuwait too, and
Yeah.
they're connected
Yeah.
over land. So I thought it'd be interesting to take that route.
Nice.
So
How long did that take from you start in Kuwait and?
yeah, so spent a couple days in Kuwait, and then like the taxi or Kareem was an hour and a half drive.
Oh, okay.
They drop you off at the border.
Yeah.
And then you like get into a shuttle bus, and then they like take you to like these different facilities and process you and make sure your visa is like correct. And there's like holding, I mean, it's like any border area.
Yeah.
But there's like holding areas for customs, and they'll search you and that sort of thing. But
Yeah. What was that moment like when you're on that border looking at Iraq going,
Yeah.
that's where I'm about to go?
that's Iraq. Yeah. Yeah. I mean, it's like going back to perception, right? Like,
Yeah.
I grew up like coming of age, like Iraq was always on CNN as like, like, shock and awe, like bombs, like death, just craziness.
Mission accomplished.
Yeah. Yeah, dude, aircraft carriers.
Yeah.
But seeing it in person, it's like, okay, there's definitely like concertina wire separating Kuwait and Iraq. The Kuwait side of the road has less potholes in it and is, like the infrastructure is better.
Yeah.
But I mean, it's still a desert's a desert. So like,
Yeah.
it's still the same biome, so to speak.
So you've got what 3-4 days of travel, and then probably a couple days coming home. So how many days did you actually have in Iraq?
I think it was 8.
Oh, you had 8 days.
Like
Okay,
8 full days.
got it.
Yeah.
And where all did you go? Did you stay in Baghdad? Did you go outside?
Dude, pretty much south to north, the whole country.
Oh wow.
Not a whole lot east to west. There's like one main arterial road that starts at the border with Kuwait,
Okay.
and then goes all the way up, and eventually you'll get into Turkey. But yeah, started at the border with Kuwait. My first night was in Nasiriyah. That's a cool town. They have one of the oldest ziggurats. It's like a pyramid.
Yeah.
From ancient Iraqi people.
Yeah.
That was sweet. So spent a couple days in kind of southern Iraq, and then went up to Babylon.
Oh wow.
Yeah, dude. Ancient city of Babylon.
What did you think of that? I mean, all I think is Hanging Gardens of Babylon.
Yeah, yeah.
So
No, I mean, they still have like those ruins.
Yeah.
A lot of it's like waiting to be excavated, but they've excavated part of Babylon.
wow.
And that was actually maybe my favorite part of Iraq. They have, it's really weird. There's this juxtaposition where there's ancient Babylon, and then 100 meters away, there's this opulent palace that was built by Saddam Hussein
Yeah.
in the 70s or 80s. I can't remember, but it's like huge. I mean, we're talking like 100 rooms.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, like 6 stories, just crazy, right?
And it's probably built on old ruins.
It's built where it shouldn't be built.
Yeah.
Right? Like he clearly had such an ego that he was willing to disrupt this like UNESCO site for his own glory, and build this palace overlooking ancient Babylon.
Yeah.
Like just think about the ego that takes.
That's pretty rough.
Like he saw himself as like this new reincarnation of like the old world and like Iraq's former glory. And
so can you feel any like remnants of Saddam Hussein, or is that just like that's a long?
So Iraqis don't want to talk about it.
Okay.
I mean, it's a painful time in Iraqi history. I mean, it was brutal. Weirdly though, like as dictators tend to do, like they kept the lights on and like there was order, and I'm sure like they preferred Saddam Hussein over ISIS, right?
Yeah.
So yeah, but no, I mean nobody's like crying over Saddam Hussein not being there anymore.
Yeah. Yeah.
But yeah, I know the palace is just insane. Like you're wandering around this opulent palace overlooking like one of the coolest relics of ancient history. And there's like this infinity pool that he had. You just like imagine like the parties that he would have thrown, you know? Like,
Yeah.
1980s, like I'm one of the richest people on planet Earth. Like I've taken all of this oil wealth and essentially stolen it for my own glory.
Yeah. Built over ancient ruins and
yeah, dude, it's just wild.
Wow. Okay, so after going to Babylon.
Yeah, so Babylon is not too far from Baghdad. I think it's only like an hour or two. So I went to Baghdad from Babylon. Huge city. Skyscrapers, pollution, traffic. Just, I mean, it's a city.
Yeah.
There was a dust storm too, which like you've probably heard like, yeah, dude, like it gets really, really dusty.
Yeah.
Like it's windy and
I
then
would
it picks that
imagine.
all up. And dude, I needed like so much Allegra to like get through the day. Like just dust is constantly getting in my eyes walking around the streets of Baghdad.
Yeah.
But no, it's a cool city. It's got a lot of life and the food's good. The food's cheap. People are nice.
What kind of food did you have there?
So I'm a cheapskate.
Okay.
Falafels are anywhere from like 75 cents to like $2.
Awesome.
So I just ate lots of falafels. They're filling too. Like they're huge and delicious. So
Yeah.
lots of falafels. Kebab, quite a bit more expensive. Talking like $4.
Yeah, meat.
Yeah, like $4 or $5.
Yeah. That's
Very cheap.
I feel like that's kind of on the upper end of what I would expect.
I mean, being from Seattle though, like
well,
a
yeah.
nice kebab meal is going to be like
$25.
$25. Oh yeah, tax tip. Now we're talking 30.
Yeah.
Like, yeah.
Oh man. So what do you do in Baghdad? You just wander around like
Dude, I'm a big walker.
Okay.
Like when I go to a city, like I do my own walking tour. I've got a bunch of pins on the map that I want to see.
Yeah.
I'm not taking taxis.
Yeah.
Like I'll put in 10, 15 miles of walking.
Nice.
That's how you got to see the city, right?
Yeah.
Like, and there's no I put it in Google Maps and like this, I'm taking a left here and a right here. It's like, no, like I need to go north. So I'm just going to wander in that direction for an hour and a half and see what I see.
Wow.
But yeah, I mean, it's a chaotic city. Like there's a lot to see. Like there's a lot of people watching. There's a lot of market watching. I've heard some people compare it to New Delhi, and I think that might be off. Like I don't see the direct comparison there, but tons of people and tons of energy and
Yeah, just like the energy of a big city, and anytime you get millions of people crammed into one location.
yeah.
Was there anything that you did in Baghdad that like stood out as like, oh my God, if you're going to Baghdad, go do this?
Yeah.
Which is a weird sentence in my mind.
Okay, so I'm gonna go back to the whole history nerd thing.
Yes. Yeah.
You might remember, like one of the most iconic moments of the war in Iraq was when the U.S. Marines had finally like pushed into Baghdad, and there was this giant statue of Saddam Hussein.
That's what I thought you were going to say. Yeah.
So it's in Firdos Square, like central Baghdad, and they like threw an American flag over his head and like were trying to topple it, and then they were like, "Oh wait, this looks bad. Let's put an Iraqi flag over his head and topple it."
Yeah.
but there's like cheering crowds, and then it like turned into this thing where like, well, not everybody's cheering because they're like, well, are the Americans ever going to leave? And so it was this big like made for television moment, just like Americana, right?
Yeah.
And I remember seeing that being like, this would have been 2003, so I was like a sixth grader or like a seventh grader, right? And then standing in that square and being like, oh, that's the statue that's not there anymore.
Right.
Like,
that's the statue base.
Yeah. And then like you look across the street and there's this giant billboard that is like jihad, right? Like there's like a burning American aircraft carrier on this billboard, and there's like Houthi like rebels in Yemen that are like have like sunk this aircraft carrier, and they're holding up these like these signs, and it's in Arabic. So I'm like, what does that mean? So I take a picture of it, and then get ChatGPT to translate like the billboard picture for me, and it's like death to America, death to Israel, like Allah is great, like, and I'm like, oh my goodness, like this is a strange place for an American to be right now.
Yes.
Like, I don't know how I feel about this, right? Like, I don't know. It's so historical, but also kind of like unnerving. A lot of mixed feelings, but like the history nerd side of me was just like, this place is super interesting. Like 20 times better than Disney World.
Yeah. That's like an internal conflict between what you find interesting, and then maybe I'm speaking for myself here, is like the self-preservation side of me is like, oh shit, maybe I don't stay around here. I guess what did you see that and then you're like, cool, dip out, or what?
I think so. There's like a feeling that you have like when you know like I shouldn't be here. Like people are looking at me like I'm in imminent danger. That was not a feeling at all in Baghdad. It was more like, this is interesting. Like people don't even know I'm an American. I could be European or Canadian or whatever. Like I'm not like in danger right now.
Not wearing a cape that's
I'm not wearing like the Captain America underpants and being like, I'm here to save everybody. Like no. No, it was just like the academic like historian in me was like, there is a lot going on in this square. Like, and most people would just walk past the square and be like, oh, there's a sign that I can't read in Arabic, and there's no statue in this square anymore. This is like, why am I here?
Yeah, you gotta feel the weight of the moment, like of history in that location. I guess kind of on that note of safety, let's go back. I mean, we're talking about Iraq. There's been a however many year war, multi-decade war. What was the overall feeling? I mean, you mentioned there's not a whole lot of feeling of like I'm in imminent danger, but just walking around, you walk 10, 15 miles a day, you're going to be interacting with people. What was your gut feeling as you're walking around?
So like kind of like the fear mongering side of you is like, okay, if I'm walking 15 miles a day in like neighborhoods that I'm not familiar with, in a city with whatever 5 million people, 10 million people, like tons of people, right? And I'm like, okay, one of these people I'm going to walk past is going to have had a relative that died in the war at the hands of an American, right? And like they're gonna see me and like associate that with their situation, and then like I'm mugged or killed or whatever, right? That's like the worst case scenario that's always running through your mind. But I think like Iraqi hospitality and like Arab hospitality is really second to none, dude. Like it's like, come inside my barbershop, I'll give you a haircut for free, here's some tea. Like just like stuff that is so like not normal in the United States is just the norm, right? And so it's like you're wrestling with that, like, okay, State Department level 4, do not travel here, write a will. And everyone's nice to me. They're like, something's not computing. And it's just it's a difficult part of the world to like pigeonhole. And there's certain things in Iraq, like you don't see people wear shorts. You don't see men wear shorts. Like, you don't see women wear, like, you just don't see shorts.
Yeah.
Right?
Interesting.
Like, there's just modesty, right?
Yeah.
Most women are wearing headdresses. Not all women, but most. Most men are smoking cigarettes.
Yeah.
A lot of them.
Yeah. So you mentioned something to me before we even started this about an interesting cigarette plus taxi equals Iraqi custom. Can you say more about that?
Okay, so there's like peculiarities that you get with Iraq. In Iraq, you take these shared taxis is kind of the way that you go from city to city. There's not really like bus systems or like trains or anything. Like people will just meet at a taxi like stand. They call them garages, where there'll be like 100 taxi cars, and this group of taxis is going to Baghdad. This group of taxis is going to Mosul. This group of taxis is going to Nasiriyah. And you just like wait in the line of the city that you want to go to. Once that car fills up with like 4 or 5 people, it's comically cheap. Like you pay the driver like $5 to drive you 4 hours.
Wow.
Yeah. That whole time, they're just ripping cigs.
Yeah. With all 5 of you in the car.
Yeah, dude. And it's not just the driver.
Yeah.
Right? Like, it's the other men in the car. Like, and I'm just like, oh, God, I want to crack the window, but I don't want to lose, like, my, I don't know, like, masculinity card or whatever. But, like,
your street cred.
There's got to be something about, like, you have to hotbox this taxi. So I'm just taking it. I'm like, this is one of the most, like, gross experiences I've, like, I just can't do it, man.
I mean, you probably smelled like cigarettes for the rest of your trip.
Yes.
It's like in your nose.
Yeah. And that's not even everything, man. Like the hotel beds will have foreign hairs on them. Like if you look close enough, you're like, oh,
That's so gross.
that's a stranger's hair in my bed.
I don't think I could do that.
No. I mean, it's not like a particularly clean country.
Sure.
If you're cool with that, like it's a great country.
Yeah.
And I'm cool with that.
Okay.
Like, I don't really care that much. I just take the hair and put it
Put it in the garbage or
and
somewhere
just deal
else.
with it, right?
Yeah.
Oh, it's not. Oh, dude. About half of the hotels I went to in Iraq didn't have towels. They expect you to bring your own towel. Or like they expect you to purchase a towel, like from not the hotel, but like at the market somewhere. Like it was very strange.
That is strange.
Yeah. And I remember being like towards the end of the trip when I figured it out, that was the first question I would ask on Google Translate is like, do your hotel rooms have bath towels?
Yeah.
I would like to take a shower.
Yeah. I need to get the cigarette smoke off of
And
my
they'd be like,
clothes.
oh, no. Why would we
Why
have
would we have a towel? We're a hotel.
And like, it's something that would piss off like most Americans. Like you get to a hotel room, like you had a long day of travel and you're just like, I need to take a shower. But like, you just have to roll with the punches in Iraq. It's just not, it's not Paris. It's not London. It's not
Yeah.
whatever, Berlin, like fill in your city.
Right.
Like Baghdad is not that way. And most cities in Iraq are not that way.
Right. So do you end up staying in hotels the whole time? I mean, I can't imagine they have a whole lot of like youth hostels.
There's not a youth hostel scene.
Yeah. Shocker.
And there's not really like a luxury hotel scene either. And I'm not like one to stay at a luxury hotel, but like there's not going to be a Ramadan or a Hilton or whatever at like or a Radisson. Did I say Ramadan?
The Ramada.
Ramada. Okay.
It's just one letter away. You were close.
Yeah, they don't have these like big Western chains.
Yeah.
And so you're stuck with like budget hotels, which is kind of like my lane anyway. So I'm like, I'm fine with it. But there's also no booking.com. There's no Agoda. Like,
So how do you find...
You go on Google
Okay.
and you translate hotel into Arabic, copy and paste that in, and then it pops up with a bunch of hotels. And then you have to like read the reviews to get an idea of how expensive they are. Because it's not
so it's not just posted.
It's not like an internet culture, like, oh, I'll book this night for like, none of these hotels are on the internet.
Yeah.
And so you just show up with your Google Translate and a smile, and you're like, hey, how much? And then they like take out a calculator, and then you're like, okay, sounds good.
Did you ever have a situation where you like walk in and you're like, this just isn't going to work, or they turned you away or anything like that?
No. I bit the bullet. Yeah.
Wait, what do you mean by bit the bullet?
Like I went into some pretty gross rooms.
Oh, did you?
like the hairbed place, like
Yeah.
that would have turned away my wife like instantaneously.
Yeah.
But when you're solo backpacking, you can just be like, it's not that big of a deal.
Yeah. Get it and just
Yeah.
brush it off.
Definitely would have turned away the majority of Americans.
Yeah.
But it's like $17. So
Then again,
I
so
can deal with
would the country of Iraq. So
Yeah.
you're already kind of in this space of doing something that
yeah.
more people are not going to typically do.
No, yeah, definitely in like the not your comfort zone. It's like your growing zone. Like I'm not having a panic attack, but like
Yeah.
I'm between that and like comfortable.
Totally.
And that's
Yeah.
where you grow and that's where you learn. And that's, those are the vacations I like to take.
So I want to go to what happens after Baghdad, but kind of on that point of the area of growth, like, is that something that drives some of your travel desires, or need to, for me, sometimes it's like, I need to just leave. I need to go do something new. But
Yeah.
like, what is it that drives your desire? You're at 90 countries.
Yeah. Maybe I'll just talk about the countries that I like the most.
Sure.
Vietnam, Indonesia. I always put those in the top two. I'm
Yeah.
not sure which one, but I love both of them. Cuba's up there. Colombia's up there. Ukraine is up there.
Yeah.
Countries that like are just intriguing for my twisted brain. I don't know. Like, I remember like I had to connect through London once, and I was like walking around London, and I was like, this city is so boring. Like, I don't know. It just doesn't do it for me. Like, it's not like a culture shock at all. Right? Like,
Yeah.
it's Seattle, but they talk funnier, and like things are just as expensive. Like, why am I here?
Yeah.
So yeah, I enjoy countries where there's like a very pertinent level of foreignness, right? Like, I always tell the story of me and my buddy. We backpacked Southeast Asia in 2017.
Okay.
And like we got off the plane and we walked out into Ho Chi Minh City, and the humidity hit you like a ton of bricks. And
Yeah.
there's literally like hundreds of Vietnamese people all just waiting for their families to arrive, like that they probably haven't seen in years. And you're like, whoa, this is not normal.
Yeah.
Right? And
Yeah.
then like you walk out and you're like, oh dang, I just got hit by a moped. Like that was
Right. Yeah.
I'm kind
you're
of scared, but like I'm
supposed to
also kind of
walk
like,
out.
this is awesome.
Yeah.
And like, oh, this is like the best bowl of pho I've ever had, and it's like $1.
Right.
So it's just like you're confused, but that confusion is like alluring. I don't know. Like,
Yeah.
yeah, it's like it's growth, it's learning, it's yeah.
Yeah, for me, one thing that I've always kind of equated it to is like it's a puzzle that you're
Yeah.
living in real time.
Yeah.
Because you don't know the language, you don't know where you're going really, and you gotta try and make the pieces fit. And if they don't, you gotta do something new,
Yeah.
and you gotta kind of improvise and adapt and
Yeah, I mean the puzzle thing, like I've thought about that too.
Yeah.
It's like it's weird. It's like a puzzle that I know I'm gonna figure out
Yeah.
eventually, right?
Yeah.
And like there's an element of stress, but it's like productive stress. And also like I'm a big faith guy. Like I always just it's gonna work out.
Yeah.
Like I'm stressed right now, but like once I figure it out, I'll be fine. Right.
Yeah.
Like the Tokyo Metro. It's like
Yeah.
it looks like a spider web.
Right.
And there's like, okay, is that the purple line or is that like the magenta line?
Right.
And then, but I'm like, it'll be fine. Like, we'll figure it out.
we'll get there eventually. It might take 3 weeks, but
Yeah.
we'll get there.
But it'll be like hilariously like its own thing.
Yeah.
Right.
Okay, so then going back to Baghdad,
Mm-hmm.
you're brushing off the foreign hairs, you're stepping on cockroaches and buying towels from the market.
Yeah.
Where do you go to from there?
So from Baghdad, I got a shared taxi to Fallujah.
Fallujah. Okay.
Fallujah is, let me backtrack. The last time Lonely Planet had an Iraq like version,
Yeah.
was I think they did like a Middle East Lonely Planet like 5 years ago, and they had like 2 pages on Iraq that was like, don't go here. But
In depth.
there's like a complete black hole of information for Fallujah. It's just like, oh, do you want to learn about like all the people that died there during the invasion and the insurgency? If not, like we have nothing to tell you about this town. Like no hotels pop up, no museums pop up. It's like just this town that is synonymous with war.
Yeah. And how big is Fallujah?
It's big, dude.
Yeah.
It's 500,000. Like, I mean, it's huge.
I mean,
like,
that's the size of Seattle.
yeah, like it's a big city.
Wow. Okay.
And it's a city that doesn't have any ancient like sites. Like there's no ziggurats, there's no like Hammurabi's code. Like it's a city that's synonymous with the insurgency.
Yeah.
And I'm interested in that.
Yeah.
So I went there.
Right.
And that was the one town in Iraq where I was like, it feels different. Right? There's way more checkpoints. There's probably a dozen checkpoints. Every time they take your passport and they ask you like, why are you here?
Yeah.
Like,
and what did you say?
and I say like tourism, just like it says in my visa. And they're like, well, but like that's not a good answer.
Yeah, because no one else does that.
And I'm like, well, your city is like one of the most consequential cities of the 21st century. Like,
Yeah.
and I'm a history teacher. Like, is that a good enough reason? And they're just like, no. And so I actually like I spent maybe 5 hours in Fallujah before like I was at this kebab like shop. And there was guys making pita bread and offering me tea, and it was just Iraq, right? Like it was great. And
People
then,
just living like their daily lives.
yeah.
And,
And then like there was a handful of people that were like, oh, that guy's white. That's crazy. And then they all just kind of start like coming towards me.
Yeah.
And they're like, selfie this, selfie that. Like, here's my Instagram, blah, blah, blah. And I'm like, oh, this is kind of wild. I feel like a celebrity. And then there's a police officer that taps me on the shoulder, and I like look, and obviously most of it's in Arabic, but his badge said Ministry of the Interior. I was like, what does that mean? Is that like their secret police? Like, what is this? And having a conversation with him over Google Translate, he was like, you're not in trouble, but like you need to come with us. And I'm like the part of my brain is like, wait, this must be why it's a level 4.
Yeah. Yeah.
This must be,
no.
This must be why it says like kidnapping in red letters on the State Department's website.
Yeah.
But he's wearing a uniform, right? Like it says like Ministry of Interior, like Iraq, like this isn't a jihadist, like,
Right.
But you know, that juxtaposition in my head, I'm like wrestling with this. I'm like, I don't feel comfortable right now.
Right.
Like I feel like I'm being like detained, which I guess I was. So he brings me to this checkpoint, and then there's like, before you know it, like all of the Fallujah bros that wanted to hang out with me are gone. And it's just like a half dozen police officers, and they're all checking over my passport. And butterflies in the stomach.
Yeah, I was
like,
going
big
to
time,
say.
right? Like half of them have Kalashnikovs and are just like, you know, like staring me down, sizing me up, like, what is this? And then they didn't speak good enough English to like have a conversation with me, and it's kind of exhausting, like going back and forth with Google Translate.
Yeah.
So they were able to call a guy that was a dual national. He was Canadian and Iraqi. And he came over, and his English was still like kind of spotty, but he was wearing sunglasses. He lifted his sunglasses up, and he was missing an eye. Like he clearly had like a very traumatic injury at one point in his life, and he's shaking me, and he's like, why are you here? And it was like, at first I thought it was like rage, and I was like freaking out. Like, did this guy get shot, like, you know, unjustly during the battle, and is like just hates Americans and is wanting to like string me up to the back of a Toyota and just drag me through the streets? Or like that part of my brain is just freaking out, right? And eventually, like, it might have been my own fault, but I think he was just excited because he calmed down pretty quickly when I said, like, I'm an American. And he goes, Vancouver? And I'm like, what? And he's like, I'm from Vancouver. I'm like, you're from Vancouver?
Oh.
Like, I'm from Seattle,
100
man.
miles away.
I was in Vancouver like a month ago.
Yeah.
It's a great city. And then his 11-year-old son, like a middle school kid, spoke fantastic English, like better than me, right?
Sure.
And then we're talking, he's a middle school kid in Canada, and we're talking about hockey, and then like the situation just totally like went back down to baseline. I'm actually getting kind of stressed out just thinking about it though, because for about 4 seconds there, I was like, gulp, like,
what have I stepped into?
Yeah. And then long story short, the police didn't want me in Fallujah. And I think that's because, or they felt like I was a liability maybe, right? Like, they were tasked with protecting me. Like that's kind of their job.
Yeah.
And they didn't want that responsibility. And so they're like, what's the next town you want to go to? And I'm like, well, I wanted to stay a night in Fallujah, and then I wanted to stay a night in Ramadi. And they're like, yeah, that's not happening. Like, you're going not here. So,
oh my God.
Yeah, dude. So they're like, come with us. And it's like, I could have put my foot down probably and been like, no, I want to stay here. And then it would have just been really awkward.
Yeah.
And so I'm just like, okay, I'm going with you. And then so, yeah, I mean, I'm like, there's 2 police officers up front, Kalashnikov in the middle, me in the back. First time I've ever been in a cop car, right?
Oh my God. And it's in Iraq.
Yeah. And mind you, like only the 2 Canadian people, like the father-son duo can speak English.
Yeah.
So now I'm like cruising out of Fallujah, and I tell them I want to go to Samara. And I can't say Samara correctly. It's like Samara or Samara or something, your language barrier. And then so I have to like pull out, I think it's like 1,000 dinar bill that has this like really cool looking mosque on it. And that's like why you go to Samara.
Yeah.
And I showed it to them and they're like, oh yeah, well, like we'll take you. And I'm like, okay, this is kind of cool. I
Police
guess.
escort.
Like, police escort. Like I feel like cool. I feel like I'm somebody. I made it.
You
right?
made it in Iraq.
But also like I took my phone off airplane mode and was like last known location, GPS, like to my friend.
Just in case.
Please don't tell Cassie. Don't tell my wife.
Yeah.
Like, but like I'm detained and like I think I know where I'm going, but like I'm not the one driving. So yeah, man, it was stressful. It was very stressful.
So you make it to Samara?
Yeah. So checkpoint. And the road between Fallujah and Samara was very strategically important for ISIS. That was like one of their, it's essentially like the furthest east that ISIS pushed. They got stalled shy of Baghdad. They took over Fallujah. And that road was like one of their like significant arterial roads. So there's like evidence of drone strikes on both sides of the road for an hour and a half. And concertina wire and like, oh, that was definitely like a trench system. It's just like Call of Duty, right? Just driving down this road with these 2 cops and the historian, like academic side of me was like, this is awesome. Like, I feel like I'm in a history book, right? Like, cooler than any museum I've ever been to, right?
Right.
But there's that very pertinent element of like stress. Yeah. And then every 20 minutes they're like stopping at like a proper like police like station to check my passport again. It's like, dude, the amount of passport checks in Iraq is insane. And you're not sure like, do they need like all of this police presence? Otherwise it would be chaos, or is this overkill? But like either way, I mean, it's like evidence of like safety and stability and like anyway, I get to like this point where they're like, okay, we're not going to drive you all the way there, but we're going to stop a citizen at this checkpoint, and then we'll like tell him that you're taking this tourist all the way to Samara.
So you're basically having them hitchhike for you.
Yeah, it was very weird. Like very weird. And there's not a fluid English conversation either. No. It's just like they point at this car and they're like, get in that car. And I'm like, okay. And then I talk to this guy and I'm like, hey, like, salam alaikum, like, who are you? And he's like, going through Google Translate, like, nobody speaks English in Iraq, dude. Like, it's not a language commonly spoken.
Yeah.
And he's like, oh, like they told me to pick you up, so here we are. And I was like, well, thank you. Do you want money? Like,
Yeah.
And then he's telling me, he's like, yeah, you're in like Al Anbar province, which was the war in Iraq. Like, this is where it all went down. Like, this is the Wild West. And more recently, this is like ISIS land, right?
Yeah.
So the most stressful part of Iraq, and in my opinion, like probably the most interesting part of Iraq. But yeah, that was the kind of like the apex of my time there as far as stress and growth.
Yeah. Growing a lot in that period.
Yeah, I think this is probably the first time my parents are going to hear this story in totality.
Have you told Cassie?
I told Cassie, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
So this is, you were driven out of that province altogether.
I have this grand plan. I'm going to spend like one night in Fallujah, one night in Ramadi. It's going to be great. Like, I mean, being in the city, like the whole city is a museum. Like all these mosques are pockmarked with RPG strikes and like, you know, shells here, shells there. Like it is very obvious that a recent, 9 years ago, war took place. Right. Yeah. And so like the walking tours, phenomenal.
Yeah.
Better than London, better than Paris. Like, and I was listening to an audiobook download. It was American Sniper. Have you seen the movie?
Oh, yeah, yeah.
Yeah, so like Chris Kyle, like this American Sniper, that was like where he did a lot of his war fighting, was in Fallujah. And so I'm like listening to this book, like walking down these streets, like looking up at like vantage points, and I'm like, yeah, this would have been a terrible place to be in 2004. So.
Wow. I mean, okay, so your plan gets thrown off a little bit. Where do you go from there?
So I checked out that mosque in Samarra, and there's this is, I think, also another reason why Iraq is probably level 4 is most of the checkpoints are the Iraqi government, like the official government of Iraq. Yeah. And some of the checkpoints are these like paramilitary groups that are supported by Iran, because they're these like Shia religious paramilitary groups that I mean, they did a number on ISIS. Like they were fighting the bad guys. Like they're not terrorists, but they're interested in protecting religious sites for the Shia faith. Oh, okay. And this mosque that I was going to was a Shia mosque, and I had to actually forfeit my passport to this checkpoint. And they were like, hey, when you come back, like, come get your passport. And I think that was the first time I've ever had to like actually like leave my passport.
Give your passport to
somebody that has a Kalashnikov. And so that's also a little unnerving. Like, hey, like this guy that I'm talking to is not wearing the same uniform as like this other guy that I talked to 5 miles ago.
So when that happens, do you kind of like do the expedited tour of the mosque, or are you able to like level-headedly take your time?
I think I'm able to like level-headedly take my time. I mean, the guy literally spoke enough English to be like, "You're safe. Thanks for visiting like our site. Like, we're here to protect you." Like in less words, right? Yeah. Not like alarm bells quite like when I was detained in Fallujah. Yeah. It's just like another part of like, you know, you've been to Iraq when you have to give up your passport to this paramilitary group. Yeah. But yeah, no, the mosque was sweet. And actually it's pretty close to Tikrit, which is Saddam Hussein's hometown. Oh. And that was another like pretty interesting city, and spent a night there. Yeah. So that's how I pivoted. I was going to spend a night in Ramadi, but I ended up spending a night in Tikrit.
In Saddam Hussein's hometown. Yeah. Nice. Okay. Yeah. What did you get any, I don't know, insights from Tikrit?
So there's like, I'm interested in dark tourism, obviously. Yeah. Like I'm interested in things that are like infamous or especially spicy, as I like to say. So the spider hole that Saddam Hussein was like found in, you know, one of the most infamous manhunts of all time, aside from like O.J. Simpson or something.
Yeah. I don't know. I might say Saddam Hussein was more infamous than O.J. Simpson.
But that I would really wanted to like go find that.
Yeah.
Because there's this group on Facebook called Every Passport Stamp, and it's
I think I've heard of that.
yeah. It's a group of people that have similar interests to me and like to go to a lot of countries that a lot of people don't like to go to. And somebody had recently done that, and I was like, that's really cool. But he actually had a rental car, which I thought was like really ballsy and also really cool. And so I'm kind of kicking myself for not getting that. But he was able to track it down and find it. I didn't end up doing that, unfortunately. But there's one of his magnificent, ultra opulent palaces was also in Tikrit.
Yeah.
That one was off limits.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Okay.
The one in Babylon like is technically off limits, but they don't care and they just let you do it.
They kind of, couple dollars. And
I didn't actually have to bribe anybody to get into that one.
Okay.
But there was one checkpoint that they were like, oh, you want to see the palace? Yeah, that's fine. Just like, thanks for letting us know. And then I actually got into the palace, and then there was one police officer that was like freaking out at me, and I was like, dude, call your guy down there.
Yeah.
Like he let me. And so it's just like one of those things when you're traveling in developing countries, like there's just, it's not efficient.
Right. Yeah.
You run into these like comical scenarios, like who's on first? No, who's on first? Like,
right.
And language barrier too.
Wow.
But no, couldn't visit the even bigger, crazier palace in Saddam Hussein's hometown. Yeah. From Tikrit, spent one night there. It's just kind of like aside from being Saddam Hussein's hometown, it's a pretty like normal Iraqi city, like smaller than Fallujah, way smaller than Baghdad. And then I ended up in Mosul.
Okay.
That was it's the second largest city in Iraq.
Okay.
And that's kind of the furthest north that you're gonna get in Iraq. That city was really cool.
What was cool about it?
So that was the largest city that ISIS had occupied, more than 1 million people. And it was kind of also their last stand. So the destruction of Mosul is shocking.
Like, is it still in kind of that state?
There's essentially like not a single building that was standing in 2018 that doesn't show scars from the battle. I mean, ISIS like booby trapping every building.
Yeah.
Like not, giving any Fs.
Yeah.
Just like, we're going down with a bunch of civilians and infrastructure, right? So just the savagery of that fight.
Right.
And it was, relatively recent. I think it was 2017.
Yeah.
Or 2018. The evidence of it it's like appalling, but it's also like, you can't take your eyes off it. You're like, oh my goodness. And then the people that are still in Mosul, like everyone lived under ISIS.
Right.
Right. So I talked to, there was 2 medical students that spoke pretty good English. And they were younger than me. So they would have, I think they said they were like mid-20s. So they would have been like middle school, high school high school, I guess, during the ISIS occupation. And I didn't really know how to like broach the subject, like, interested in like their experience, but like, they're probably super traumatized.
Yeah.
Right. So, and they didn't want to talk about it, which makes tons of sense.
Fair enough.
But also the humanity too. In a lot of cities in Baghdad, you'll be offered free food. And in Mosul, I probably had the best meal. It was like this, almost like a breakfast pizza sort of thing. I don't know what they would call it in Arabic, but I showed the guy Google Translate, just make me your favorite breakfast.
Yeah.
It's like this, roadside stall. And he makes it for me, and I sit down and eat it, and it's amazing.
Yeah.
And then he's like, no, it's fine. When I try to pay him, I'm like, dude, this city rocks. It's great. Like, they've been so traumatized by war, and they're yet so hospitable.
And still so welcoming.
Yeah.
It's amazing how like resilient places can be, especially that have gone through a recent tragedy like that.
And it's rebuilding though. Like, there's scaffolding going up everywhere, and there's actually this like statue kind of in central Mosul of somebody shoveling rubble into a wheelbarrow, and it was like pretty moving.
Yeah.
Like, I mean, one of the least fortunate cities on earth, and they're just like not stewing in that victimhood.
Right.
They're 100% on the up and up.
I like that idea of the hero is not necessarily the person who wins the battle or whatever. It's the people who have to rebuild.
Yeah.
Like that's who the real, I don't know if I would say winners, but like that's the hard part of any of these things is rebuilding.
But like getting to chart like a new story, right?
Yeah.
A new path.
Yeah. It's every day is a new page or whatever.
Yeah. I walked past an elementary school where there's like girls like doing their morning commute going to school.
Yeah.
And like that definitely wouldn't have happened.
Would not have
10 years
happened with
ago.
ISIS.
No.
Yeah.
So it's like kind of cool, like kind of therapeutic and healing, like seeing that
Right.
like juxtaposed to this like drone strike Toyota right here.
Right.
Just living history, right? Like
Yeah.
it's a museum. Like the city itself is a museum.
And you get, I mean, I guess that's probably part of the dark tourism side of things is you get to see change in action.
Yeah.
And if you know the history, then you know why that change is important, both to people in that area or, you know. So was Mosul where you kind of wrapped up or?
Yeah, so Mosul was the last city in federal Iraq.
Okay.
So Iraq is a interesting country in that they have almost like a breakaway state or like a, I forget the legal term that they use for it, but there's Iraqi Kurdistan.
Oh, yeah. Okay.
So it's administered like by Iraq, and it's like Iraq controls it, but they give the Kurdish people a certain level of autonomy, and they actually like had border control. So it like felt like I was entering like a new country, right? Like they didn't look at my passport; they like stamped my passport, right? Like so, and then you cross over the border, and they're not speaking Arabic anymore.
Yeah,
they're speaking Kurdish. And they're not Arab, they're Kurdish. And there's like some differences, right? The cuisine's pretty similar and the hospitality is the same, but yeah, I mean, it felt like a different country.
Yeah.
And if you're to fly into Kurdistan, like your Iraqi visa doesn't work. Like you're not in Iraq, you're in Kurdistan, so you have to get like a separate visa. But if you travel overland, they like make an exception and let you in.
So how long were you there?
I think that was 2 or 3 days.
Okay.
Maybe 2 days.
Yeah.
Not long. It was, so the city is Erbil.
Okay. Yeah. Erbil.
The capital of Iraqi Kurdistan. But that's interesting. I mean, the Kurdish like struggle, the Kurdish people is like an interesting kind of history in and of itself. It's like, I think it's the largest ethnic group that doesn't have like a nation state. I could be like, that could be totally wrong, but I thought I heard something similar to that.
I think I've heard something similar.
Yeah. I mean, it's a massive amount of people, millions of people, and they're spread between Iraq, Turkey, Syria, Iran. There's this pocket in the Middle East, which is huge.
Right.
It's the size of like Syria. Right?
Yeah.
It's huge. But they don't have full autonomy.
Right.
And I was listening to a podcast about it, kind of going back to World War I. When the Ottoman Empire broke up and like the 14 points, Woodrow Wilson trying to get autonomy for different groups of people, like the Kurds just kind of got screwed.
Yeah.
They just got the short end of the stick.
Yeah.
And that continued throughout most of Iraqi history. Like Saddam Hussein was notorious for gassing them and using like pretty barbaric measures to keep them in line. But again, like resilience, right? Like going there and being like, these people are awesome.
Right.
Like they've gone through, I mean, they're the reason why ISIS was having such a difficult time holding the ground that it took. Because the Kurdish fighters were just ruthless. Like
they just wouldn't give up.
Yeah. Like some of the best war fighters on planet Earth.
Wow.
and Erbil, beautiful like walled citadel city,
that's
UNESCO World Heritage Site.
Yeah.
Like, yeah, it's really cool.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
So when you're done with the Erbil, you come home. It's a bit of reverse culture shock, I'm sure.
Yep.
What's that feel like when you get home? Also, actually, before we go into that, what was your experience coming back through immigration?
Okay. If the State Department is listening to this right now, please don't take away my global entry. I don't actually know like the fine print on this, but I have global entry, like did the background check or whatever. So I kind of just cruise through immigration.
Okay. Yeah.
And they don't ask questions. Like they don't actually look at my passport.
Yeah.
I like scan my passport and then they're like, yeah, you are who you say you are. Welcome back.
Right.
They don't look at the stamps.
And I'm sure you're not flying Erbil to Seattle, so.
Erbil, Istanbul, Denver. It's a whole thing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. So you didn't end up having any situation.
No trouble. Yeah. No, I've heard that it's a no-no stamp though. Like if you're a foreigner and you want to apply for an American visa and you have a stamp from Iraq, North Korea, Iran, like there's certain like no countries that if you're a foreigner, you're gonna have a very difficult time talking to some immigration officers.
Okay, so reverse culture shock. What is the experience like coming home?
Probably like I think I had to pay like $70 to get an Uber back home, and I was like, "What is this? Like, why is there no shared taxi that's $5?" And I want the guy smoking the cigarettes.
Right?
Like,
where's Kareem? I need Kareem to get me here.
So I mean, dude, we live in one of the most expensive countries on earth, and expensive like regions of our country. So, I don't know, like the monetary culture shock of coming back here. Iraq is so affordable. But yeah, I mean, like super jet lagged and trying to teach kids, but also like they have so many questions and I get to share so many like cool stories and like, I feel like I'm a better history teacher from having done this, and seen these things. And, so yeah, it's great.
That is, I mean, that just sounds like such a, I mean, I get butterflies even thinking about trying to do something like that, but that's an adventure for sure. I guess for anybody who's interested in going to Iraq, what would you, how would you say to like research it? Would you actually recommend going to Iraq?
Not as your first country.
Sure.
Probably not as your 20th country.
Yeah.
But definitely as your 90th country.
Okay.
Like, it's like no other country on earth. And I know it's like a cliche, but like their history is one and only.
Yeah.
If you're comfortable with uncomfortability, it's a great place to go. Yeah, I would go back.
You would?
Yeah,
okay.
Definitely. I prefer like Vietnam and Indonesia.
Sure.
Like, it's not in my top 5, but maybe it's in my top 10.
Really?
Yeah. Yeah.
You've been to 90 countries and you would say Iraq is in maybe your top 10.
Yeah, it's up there.
That's amazing.
It's definitely up there.
Yeah. I guess the only other question I got is where to next? I know you've got some big plans for the summer.
Yes. So this summer, I have a buddy in Norway, and Norway is like not like high on the list, like expensive. It's Europe, it's first world. Like it's Norway, but I've never been. And I love hiking. And I love kind of like dramatic landscapes.
You're going to get it there.
And yeah, I guess like we don't even have to pay for tents. Like he's going to hook it up and we're going to be sleeping on the ground, eating PB&Js.
Yeah.
So that should be a fun experience. Do a little road trip through Scandinavia. We're renting the car in Copenhagen and going Denmark, Sweden, Norway.
Okay.
From there, we are making this like long trek out east. So Denmark to Germany to Belarus.
Okay.
Have a week in Belarus. I'll enjoy that for like the Cold War, post-Soviet intrigue. Like,
It's an interesting place to go
it's
right
Russia
now.
Junior, dude.
Yeah,
like,
it is.
they actually have this visa scheme where, like, if you have a visa to Belarus, you can just enter Russia.
Oh.
I mean, they're like, since the war kicked off, like, it's basically the same country.
USSR.
Yeah. So I'm excited for that. It'll be fascinating. Another level 4 country.
Right. Yeah. Is that Minsk?
Minsk, capital
okay.
city. I'm making sure not to bring any vitamins on that trip because I'm terrified that they're going to be like, this is drugs, and then like throw me in jail.
Yeah, don't do that, please.
Yeah. And then from Minsk, there is a direct flight into Tashkent, Uzbekistan. So we're going to spend about a month in Uzbekistan, Kyrgyzstan, Tajikistan, and Kazakhstan. On a motorbike.
That's awesome.
Doing it like I do it.
Yeah.
Love the motorbikes. Staying in yurts. Eating lots of dairy products. Lots of like
Fermented milk.
Yeah, lots of like 6,000 meter passes and peaks, and apparently it's like some of the most dramatic landscapes on Earth.
That's gonna be so cool.
Yeah, dude, it's gonna be sweet. There's this road, it's called the Wakhan Corridor between Tajikistan and Afghanistan. So like you're driving on I think it's the Panj River, and there's like Afghanistan on one side, Tajikistan on the other side. You're in this like dramatic valley, and I'm just looking forward to that.
Yeah.
That'll be fun. And then my visa for China just cleared.
Oh, great.
So from Kyrgyzstan, I think it's like a 12-hour bus ride or something to get to Xinjiang, the westernmost part of China. And then I think I'll have like 3 weeks maybe backpacking through China and then fly out of Shanghai.
Wow.
So lots of bullet trains and lots of $1 noodles.
Yeah.
Should be a fun time.
Another amazing adventure. That's gonna be so cool.
Yeah. Looking forward to it.
Wow. Well, I mean, we might just have to have you back on the most important podcast
dude.
on the internet
Yes.
these days.
Yeah. Big
yeah.
things.
Well, Cole, thank you so much for sitting down and talking to us about this experience that you had in Iraq, and good luck on your next adventure.